Did we just get a Superman anime? My Adventures with Superman just released its first 2 episodes, and this video is going to be talking a bit about the show, some things that they did well and some that were not so well, as well as the path I think is going to follow and if it will be a good addition to the lore of Superman. So stay tuned for this and much more. Also, there might be slight spoiler warnings ahead for the first 2 episodes. My Adventures with Superman is a retelling of the classic Superman story we've all come to love or hate depending on how you feel about Superman. It's an animated show which takes inspiration from anime with its stylized character design and sleek animation, putting it in a similar category of shows like Invincible, Vox Machina, and Supercrooks. You have all of these beautifully crafted animated shows, then some schmuck in boxers in his mom's basement is gonna start a thread on Twitter complaining about how modern animation sucks. Speaking about that, I made a whole video on that topic which will be in the description, so be sure to check it out when you're done watching the video. Anyway, the visuals in this show are put to good use, especially with the character design of most of the people we see in the opening episodes. There is a variety in the way characters look, and I think that's a good thing. Lois in particular is given a huge character overhaul to what we're used to seeing on the regular from characters that portray her. And I gotta say, even though I'm not the biggest fan of changing how characters look, I feel like a good job was done with her remake. She's basically an older version of Luz from the Owl House. But from what I can tell, her character change has caused a bit of controversy online, which I understand where it would be coming from, but in this instance I disagree with. Clark Kent also looks dorky as usual, but they hit that sweet spot of buffness for him, because I feel like with Superman, you have a pretty muscular person, and you can't just make all of it disappear when he switches to Clark. So whether he's Clark Kent or Superman, the way the show allows his character to look swole even when he's not fighting is a great subtle touch. Apart from the characters themselves, the fighting animation and effects look very exciting. The show does a great job of using bright colors to complement the fight scenes that take place. The best example of this is Superman's first major fight with Willis, when she goes techno. The electricity that's surging through and around her body made the scene very electrifying, pun intended, and fun to follow along, although she was probably in great pain. Also, in Superman's fight with the robots at the dock in the first episode, the red that was used as the color of the robots' lasers were beautiful to me, and when placed with the sound design, it really immersed you into that fight sequence. And this was important to me because I feel like that was where Clark really announced himself as Superboy. Not Superman, Superboy. This same colors and animation was also put to great use in designing the background of different places of Metropolis that we had seen so far. But all of this would be pretty useless if the story was not on par with the animation. So if you're wondering how My Adventures with Superman is planning on spicing up Superman's life, keep on watching to find out. Because at this point in time, we all know the story of Superman. Alien is sent to Earth from his dying planet by his parents so that he can become a hero and save the day. Give or take a little bit of nuance depending on what particular iteration you're referring to. And My Adventures with Superman is no different. In the first episode, we're given a flashback of a very young Clark who hasn't even unlocked his powers trying to get a kite from a tree. At that same time, we have a reckless driver who's about to cause an accident until Clark goes in to save her, and something that struck me as odd was that at that point in time, Clark wasn't aware that he had powers. So imagine this 9 or 10-year-old boy sees the car skidding off the road, and his first instinct is to go and grab the back of the car to try and save it. Since he is still Superboy, it miraculously works, but that's what we call the heart of a hero. And after this, Clark starts to get used to this power, but this is where my brain starts thinking and plot holes begin to appear. Because at the time of the first episode, Clark is presumably an adult, right? And we saw that he got his powers at a pretty young age. So how is it that he still cannot exercise restraint over his powers to the point where even switching off an alarm clock is a problem because he ends up breaking it? I don't know how that is possible because it would imply that he doesn't know how to use his super strength even though it's been years. Meaning that he should have at least crushed one of his parents to death by now, but I guess that would have ended the show before it even started, and that's not what the producers want. No problem. But you can't make him display a low level of control in a normal situation for fun, but then in other shots, he is delicate enough with his strength to handle making a call on the phone. That's eating your cake and having it too, and we can't have it both ways. But apart from that, the actual story looks very promising. It is essentially giving us the story of Superman before he became the Man of Steel, something similar to what Smallville tried to do. I don't know how valid that reference is because I have never watched Smallville, but anyways, in this show, Clark Kent is your average run-of-the-mill person who will not spare a chance to let us know how normal he is. But but he's given a more human approach in this rendition as he is struggling to find out who he really is. And I feel like a lot of Superman media take a very similar approach to this, but there's something different about how My Adventures with Superman is doing it that is appealing to me personally. Clark Kent feels more like a dorky bookworm I would catch in the fantasy section of a bookstore, more than an alien boy who has been ostracized all his life. He seems to be awkward because he basically grew up on a farm, but he still has the basic social skills a normal person with friends would have in a community. And I'm assuming that the progression that Clark will embark on in this show is learning how to accept himself for who he really is. An alien boy who could probably bench press the entire world if he wanted to. And I don't have a lot to say about Lois because I haven't yet decided if she annoys me or I'm cool with her, so it's still 50-50. But I'll probably go in on her in a future video when I make a decision on her, but this is not the same with Jimmy. Because I don't know what specific character trait that he has that annoys me, but his archetype of character, that's the best friend who's into weird stuff, hyperactive and somehow clueless to whatever is happening, just drives me the wrong way. I think I had the same vibe from Mark's best friend in Invincible as well, but with Jimmy, everything from his obsession with conspiracy theories to his Twitch channel about aliens and stuff that just makes me cringe all the time, it just pisses me off, I won't even lie. The only other thing I also don't like about the character interactions in the show is the love story that is brewing between Clark and Lois. Because I mean, it happened really fast. Literally love at first sight for Clark, which is somehow unrealistic, considering that the person that he is in love with is going to be working with him, and they also reciprocate those same feelings that he has for them. Let's see how it goes though. Whether they're gonna give us a will they won't they kind of vibe, and how Clark is gonna balance this double life when he starts dating her, and how betrayed Lois is going to feel when Clark finally reveals like he was Superman all along. I will be there. Moving on from character stuff because the show is much more than that, I want to talk about the potential it has and where it could take us in the near future. And the difference between My Adventures with Superman and the other animated Superman shows from the past is that My Adventures is taking a more serialized route with its storytelling. This means that there will be one main overarching plot that the show will stick to throughout its run until it ends. I'm more biased to shows of this nature, so I see it as a huge win. But what this also means is that the show will have a chance to grow with the audience as it goes on. You see, I and many other people have a habit of getting attached to serialized shows because of how relatable the characters become. They start to feel like real people because you can see them develop from mistakes and flaws that hinder them in the beginning. They go through trials and tribulations that help them become well-grounded heroes or villains, and this can be what we see happen in this new Superman cartoon. Also, if you want to hear me ramble more about serialized cartoons like Gravity Falls and Amphibia, I will also have that video in the description as well. But the point I'm making is that with this kind of style, it becomes easier for a show to build a cult-like following and even continue going far, because until the main goal of the whole series has been attained, people like me will still be tuning in to see what happens. The potential of the show is literally limitless, and it's even impossible to guess the direction it will go in. When we're talking about DC, we haven't even seen Lex Luthor yet, and you know when he pulls up, stuff will go crazy. We could even get eventual appearances from people like Batman, Wonder Woman, or other members of the Justice League. But that would be in the distant future because this show is all about Superman and Lois becoming Superman and Lois Lane. But anyways, those are my thoughts on My Adventures with Superman, and feel free to make yours known to me in the comments below. I probably, like you, have checked out the first few episodes and it looks pretty encouraging. So let's see where this takes us. If you enjoyed the video, why don't you hit me with a like and subscribe to the channel? Then after that, you can click over here to watch a video on why a regular show is good, or you can click over here to watch a video on why modern cartoons are getting worse. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Tune out.